In the spirit of Halloween, paranormal or not, what is the scariest, creepiest or most unsettling experience of your life? I must have been around 13 years old when I was out riding my bike in the woods close to my home. As I was almost out of the woods, I get this feeling to turn around, so I turn my head and see my aunt walking behind me. I turn my head to make sure I wasn't gonna hit a tree or something and proceed to turn my bike around to catch up with my aunt, but as I turned around she wasn't there anymore. Weird. So I ride around the woods looking for her but couldn't find her. I head home and tell my grandma that I saw my aunt and if she had stopped by. I see my grandma turn white and tell me that family had just called and said that she had died unexpectedly about 30 minutes ago. Freaked me out. Grandma said she was probably stopping by to say goodbye to me. Waking up during surgery, feeling them stapling my head back together, and still being under the effects of the paralytic so that I was unable to move, talk, or otherwise let them know that I was conscious. Not my story but my grandmother's. She's had lots of weird things happen to her. She had a brother that she hadn't talked to in about 30 years. I don't remember the story, but some kind of falling out, obviously. So by this time, she's in her 60s or so. She decides one day that she's going to give her brother a call and make amends. She hadn't talked to any of her other siblings about it, not even us. She just picked up the phone and dialed. Except she didn't get to dial. She picked up the phone and there was no dial tone, so she says hello, thinking someone else in the house was on another phone. And someone responds back. It was her brother. They had called each other at the exact same time, after almost 30 years of not speaking. Freaky, right? Get weirder. A few weeks after Grandma and brother reconciled, she is sleeping in her bed and gets woken up for whatever reason. She sees an orb on the wall next to her bed. She figured it was from headlights outside or something, but it wasn't moving. So, she decides to touch the orb on the wall. Who wouldn't? And then as she touches it, it disappears. Within a few minutes, the phone rings. It's her sister. Her brother, that she had just reconciled with, died. The very real fact that I have someone else's heart beating in my chest and that I've stood at his grave. It was the 17th of May a couple of years back. Me and my family had traveled down to Oslo to celebrate the Norwegian Day of Independence with our family living in Oslo. We were living with my uncle's neighbor. He is an old but great friend to the family and he enjoys having us over when we visit him, seeing how he lost his wife long ago. So, it was some hours before we were all going to get into our formal clothes. We had just eaten breakfast and we were taking turns going into the smaller bathroom to do final touch-ups to hair and clothes. I remember I was the last guy in to finalize my formal clothes and wash my face as I enter the bathroom. When I step over the door frame and pull the door closed behind me, I feel a strong tug, as if someone was trying to pull the door open and out of my hands. I quickly open it and ask if someone needed the toilet or forgot something, but no. They were all sitting in the living space waiting for me to get ready. That's the spookiest thing I've ever experienced. I checked the bathroom for any windows that might have had let the wind create resistance between the door and other rooms, but it didn't happen when I tried to recreate it. The apartment I live in is in a building about 200 years old. It used to be the mayor's house forever ago, and apparently the section my girlfriend and I live in used to be the area where they kept the servants. A lot of things happen that don't bother me anymore. I'll wake up in the middle of the night with our soundbar to the TV on. Every now and then we will hear footsteps upstairs when nobody else is there. Little things that you kind of expect with a building that's 200 years old. There is one thing that still freaks me out though. I was just falling asleep in bed, in that state where you're daydreaming and you know you will be asleep in the next minute, when all of a sudden I hear this incoherent whispering right next to my ear. I didn't open my eyes but just kinda laid there and figured it must have just been part of my daydreaming or whatever, so I try to drift back off. Less than 30 seconds later it happens again, this time a little closer, almost as if whoever was talking was less than an inch away. Still incoherent whispering. I opened my eyes pretty quick cause I know that I didn't imagine it that time. 5 seconds go by and I hear it again, this time over by the door, so I lift my head off the pillow so I can hear it with both ears. I then hear it right outside the door. The whole time it's getting fainter. I prop myself up on my elbow trying to hear it a little clearer cause I'm thinking I have to be imagining it. Once I'm up on my elbow, I can barely hear it anymore. It sounded like it was coming from near the apartment door. At that point I had chills all over my body and said fuck it, got back under the covers, and tried to forget what I heard. I asked my girlfriend about it in the morning and she says she didn't hear anything. It still creeps me out thinking about it though, thankfully it hasn't happened again. When me and my sister were both younger, living at our old house on the lake, she would wake up almost every night screaming. She would say things like he's in my room. And my mom and dad would have to sleep with her some nights just to calm her down. She often came to sleep next to me in my room because she was so scared. As a kid, I never believed her and thought she was making it all up, but one night in particular changed all that. Me and my sister were watching TV downstairs with our babysitter. Suddenly, we heard a huge bang come from upstairs, and moments later, my dog walked into the living room. He was shaking uncontrollably and pissed on the floor right in front of us, something that this dog never did. He was visibly terrified. Me, my sister and our babysitter began climbing up the stairs to investigate the noise, and as we were walking across the little catwalk leading to the upstairs area, we heard a noise coming from my sister's room. I looked down beside me to see that my dog was still there, and I looked to my sister and my babysitter to see if they were hearing the same thing, and they were. We all heard the springs on my sister's bed creaking as if someone were jumping up and down on it. It was so terrifying and unsettling that none of us even said a word. We all just immediately ran out the front door and called our parents from the front lawn. I don't know if they ever believed us, but I remember it clear as day, and my sister regards it as proof that the things she saw when she was younger were real.